Do you ever feel like you're busy yet somehow standing still? Like the world is screaming around you and somehow you can't even hear yourself think. Every day you move faster, but you're not sure you're moving forward. You're surrounded by voices, advice, notifications, yet the one voice that matters, your own, has gone quiet. You don't talk about it, but you feel it, that invisible tension sitting heavy on your chest. The quiet panic that creeps in when the room goes silent. You look back at the last 5 years and whisper, what happened? You've accomplished things. Sure, but not the things that make you feel alive. Somewhere between responsibilities and reality. You drifted off course, and drifting is the slowest form of dying. That's the fear most people never name, the fear of fading into the background of their own life. We tell ourselves, I'm doing fine, as if fine is the goal. But deep down, fine is where dreams go to sleep. We live in a world obsessed with attention, where being seen feels like being alive. But we've mistaken visibility for value, as if being noticed means being significant. We spend hours crafting the image of success while neglecting the quiet work that creates it. And the more noise we chase, the less growth we make. Because growth requires stillness, focus, isolation, the kind of silence that doesn't feel comfortable, but transforms you anyway. Maybe that's where you are now, stuck between who you once wanted to be and who the world expects you to be. You keep planning the life you want instead of living it. You write goals on paper, but never feel them in your bones. You wake up, you scroll, you compare, and by the time you're ready to move, another day is gone. And here's the trap: comfort. That quiet kind of misery that looks like stability. You stay in jobs that drain you, relationships that numb you, routines that keep you safe, but small. You tell yourself, I'll change when things calm down. But life never calms down. It only gets louder. And every time you choose comfort, you trade a piece of your potential for a moment of relief. I've been there. I know what it feels like to stare at your reflection and wonder if you've already missed your chance. You see people younger, faster, bolder, and the doubt starts whispering, maybe it's too late. But it's not. It's never too late to rebuild. You just have to stop waiting for permission to begin. Most people don't need a new opportunity. They need silence, stillness, the quiet room where truth lives, the one place where you can no longer lie to yourself. Because growth doesn't happen when you're being watched. It happens when no one's clapping, when no one's posting, when no one's coming to rescue you, and that's where your power begins to form. In the unnoticed hours, in the unseen effort, in the small daily acts that no one will ever thank you for. Because when you learn to build in silence, you stop needing validation and start becoming undeniable. So if you feel invisible right now, good. If no one's paying attention, better. This is your moment of preparation. The season where you sharpen quietly while the rest of the world scrolls past their potential. The world doesn't need to see you becoming better. It just needs to feel it when you arrive. Power built in silence doesn't need to be announced. It speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. There comes a point when you stop trying to prove and start trying to become. Most people will never understand this. Disappearing isn't weakness. It's one of the quietest and most powerful ways to rebuild yourself. You see, everyone's chasing visibility. They want to be seen, heard, noticed, validated, but while they're chasing the crowd, they're losing themselves. That exhaustion you feel, it doesn't come from work. It comes from constantly being on, the pressure to reply, perform, impress. You felt it too, haven't you? That quiet panic that whispers, if I stop showing up, they'll for me. Listen, that's not truth. That's fear talking, and fear keeps you loud. Fear keeps you visible for all the wrong reasons. Sometimes the strongest move you'll ever make is stepping back into the shadows, not to hide, but to heal, not to quit, but to reclaim. You've been visible for too long, accessible to everyone, except yourself. And the cost? Your clarity, your focus, your peace. You keep trying to find yourself in other people's opinions, and every time you lose another piece of your identity. So what do? You disconnect. You pull back. You stop explaining your silence. You fade from the noise, so you can finally hear your own pulse again. That's when rebuilding begins, not in the spotlight, Not in the applause, but in the still room where no one's watching. And everything real starts to rise. Most people are terrified of that place. They can't handle silence because silence forces truth, and truth demands change. That's why so many stay stuck. It's easier to scroll than to reflect, easier to complain than to commit, easier to say someday than to start today. But if you're honest, you know exactly what's keeping you small. The habits that drain you, the people who use you, the routines that numb you. So you start removing quietly, patiently, no announcement, no drama, just absence. You don't slam doors, you simply stop showing up. You stop showing up to conversations that steal your peace. You walk away from people who only call when they need. You stop chasing things that don't feed your soul. You start reclaiming your power in the shadows. Every early morning, you wake up before the world does. Every night, you choose discipline over distraction. That's rebuilding. That's the quiet war no one sees, because one day they'll see the results, but never the nights it took to earn them. You'll start to feel it slowly. A new kind of confidence, not the loud kind that shouts, but the calm kind that knows no one will notice at first. You'll vanish from their timelines. You'll be forgotten in their conversations. And when the silence stretches on, doubt will whisper again, but that's when you remind yourself, you're not building to be seen. You're building to become. This is what most people miss. Rebuilding isn't about adding more. It's about subtracting everything that dilutes your strength. You can't find focus in a room full of noise. You can't grow roots while you're chasing applause. And you can't hear your future calling when you're drowning in other people's expectations. So disappear, not to escape the world, but to prepare to conquer it. Let them wonder where you went. Let them think you fell off. You don't owe anyone updates from the battlefield. Every caterpillar disappears before it flies. In silence, in stillness, in self-honesty. Fade for a while, rebuild in silence. Return unrecognizable, because power built in the dark doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't explain itself. It just shows up. And when it does, everyone feels it. Because power built in the dark always shines different in the light. Discipline is never loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't post. It simply shows up every single morning before anyone notices. Every early hour you rise in the unseen hours, without applause. Most people never understand that difference. They want the feeling of progress, not the structure of it. Listen. That's where real transformation begins. In the rhythm of your days, not the hype of your actions. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire you feed quietly, day after day, when no one is watching. Every great comeback is made of invisible mornings. Every night you choose consistency over comfort. Every hour you refuse shortcuts. You want a new life? Stop waiting for inspiration. Start with one small ritual. Repeat it, stack it, watch it transform into identity. Routine isn't restriction. It's alignment. It's the invisible scaffolding of your future. Every ritual you honor, a mindful breath, a deliberate meal, a focused work session, is a declaration. I will not let chaos steal my life. The world will distract you. It will tempt you with shortcuts and dopamine traps. It will scream for attention when you crave solitude. Listen again. That is exactly why discipline matters. Because every choice you make while unseen is the quiet war that defines you. Wake, move, reflect, work, breathe, repeat. Boring to some, life changing to you. Because boring builds foundations. It builds structure. It builds quiet power. There will be mornings you fail. You'll skip the workout. You'll ignore the journal. And that's when the quiet war tests you the most. Most people quit there, not you. You show up anyway, brick by brick, choice by choice, hour by hour. Every repetition is proof that you can trust yourself every follow. Through is a vote for your future. Because at this stage, you're not building to be noticed. You're building patterns no one claps for, but everyone will feel the results later. This is how self-respect grows. Not in applause. Not in visibility, but in promises you keep to yourself. You don't need a miracle morning. You need a mastered morning one that moves you forward when excitement is absent. One that aligns your body, mind, and purpose. Quiet discipline is simple. Show up, do the work. Respect your own time. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It doesn't seek validation. And yet it transforms everything. Every morning you rise quietly. Every decision you make with intention. Every ritual you repeat faithfully. You're weaving invisible threads that will one day hold up your entire life. This is the unseen scaffolding of success. Because the world will always tempt you to quit. It will lure you with easier paths, louder voices, shortcuts. This is the moment your inner strength proves itself, quietly, faithfully, without fail. Because when it matters most, the work you do in silence defines you. It makes the life you want inevitable. It turns potential into power. And when someone asks how you achieved it, how you became unstoppable, you'll smile quietly and say nothing. Because they won't understand the hours, the sacrifices, the repeated mornings, the invisible battle waged in solitude. That's fine. You weren't building to be seen. You were building to become quiet. Discipline isn't just a routine. It's a lifestyle. It's a statement. It's the ultimate proof that you've stopped chasing progress and started becoming it. Growth doesn't arrive in grand gestures. If you're waiting for fireworks, you'll stay stuck. Real power comes quietly, and only for those willing to do the unseen work. It sneaks in. It shows up in the mornings you rise before the world, in the hours you spend learning, practicing, improving, when no one is watching. Most people chase results. They want the feeling of success instantly. They scroll, compare, complain. They ignore the small, silent work that actually changes lives. Listen, this is the secret. No one tells you the life you want isn't built in a day. It's built in minutes. In choices that seem insignificant, in actions too small to notice, yet powerful enough to compound beyond imagination. Every habit, every repetition, every decision matters. You write one paragraph today. You rise 30 minutes earlier tomorrow. You refuse one unnecessary distraction, tiny steps, micro gestures, hidden momentum. And yet, these small actions terrify most people. Why? Because they take patience. They take discipline. They require believing in something you cannot yet see. You'll want to quit. You'll feel it. You'll think, this isn't enough. It doesn't count. What difference does it make? Here's the truth. It makes all the difference tomorrow. You repeat it. The next day, you add one more step. A month later, the mountain you never thought you could climb has risen before your eyes. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they ignore the power of these micro actions. Every small choice is a brick. Every discipline is mortar. Every day you commit quietly is a wall rising higher. No one sees it yet, no one applauds, and that's exactly how it should be. But if you build quietly, consistently, you build unshakable, invisible foundations. Because if you build for attention, you build weak. If you build for approval, you build fragile. But if you build quietly, consistently, you build unshakable, invisible foundations. Momentum that cannot be stolen. Power that cannot be questioned. You know what happens when you finally commit to these tiny daily steps? Everything falls into place, silently, relentlessly, invisibly. It's not glamorous, it's repetitive, it's boring. And that's why most people quit. But for you, that is where the magic begins. Every morning you rise quietly. Every evening you reflect, you journal, you plan. Every task completed with discipline becomes a ripple. Those ripples merge into waves. And waves carry you forward faster than you imagined. You start to notice subtle changes. Sharper mind, stronger, body clearer, purpose. And slowly, the world begins to catch up with what you've been quietly building. No one claps for the small things. No one sees the hours spent alone, focused, disciplined. But when the results arrive, they speak louder than words ever could. There will be days you miss a step. You'll falter. You'll question yourself. That's normal. Even the quietest builders face storms. The difference is you get back up, you return to the pattern. You keep layering one micro action on top of another. This is the quiet war. It's invisible, it's relentless, it's unstoppable. Most people quit after the first ripple. They never see the wave, they never see the mountain rise, but you persist. By the time people notice, you're already miles ahead. So start small, start quiet, start invisible, stack one action today, repeat tomorrow, and eventually it conquers everything. Because massive change doesn't roar. It whispers quietly, daily, relentlessly, and eventually it conquers everything. Do you feel it, that sinking dread every time you tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow? That tiny whisper of hesitation might be the only thing keeping you from greatness. Every second spent hesitating is a second your dreams move further away. Every moment you delay, you're letting life slip quietly through your fingers. Listen, most people misunderstand procrastination. They think it's laziness. It's not. It's fear disguised as comfort. That voice saying, not now, you're not ready. That voice is not your friend. It's your enemy dressed in familiarity, cloaked in safety. And here's the danger. The longer you listen, the louder it becomes. The world moves. Others act, and you drift in place. You might have talent, you might have ideas, but if you never push even the smallest bit, you'll never reach them. You think one small action doesn't matter. It matters more than, Because here's the truth. Massive change doesn't always come from massive moves. It comes from the tiniest push forward when everything inside you screams to stay still. The first step is always the hardest: opening the page, sending the email, picking up the pen, logging in. It's invisible, almost insignificant, yet it breaks the spell of hesitation. Every time you take that step, you weaken fear, you strengthen courage. Momentum follows, barely moving the needle tomorrow. You do a little more next week, the mountain seems smaller. Next month, the mountain is behind you. Most people never see this. They quit before the ripple becomes a wave. You, however, are building quietly, invisibly, relentlessly. Procrastination steals more than time. It steals opportunity, potential, momentum. It feels safe, comfortable, like nothing is happening, but standing still is the slowest form of defeat. So what do? You start small. You push once, even when it scares you, then again and again, day after day. Soon the habit of action drowns the habit of delay. The whispers of fear lose their power. And suddenly, the life you've been dreaming of is no longer a dream. It's your reality. There will be mornings you fail, you'll sit frozen, doubt pressing down. That's normal. Even the strongest falter. The difference, they push again. They act in spite of fear. And that's what separates invisible builders from everyone else. Think about it. One small push repeated. A ripple in the quiet, a motion unseen. And before anyone notices, your momentum is unstoppable. Others move. You hesitate. They climb mountains. You watch the clouds pass. That's the cost of delay. Start today, not tomorrow, not next week. Now, the smallest push you make today will echo louder than any grand gesture you never attempt. And eventually, it conquers everything. Have you ever wondered what it feels like when no one notices the work you've been doing? It cannot be ignored. It's lonely. It's frustrating. It's the quietest kind of test. While others chase applause, attention, validation, you've been building alone. In silence, out of sight. Listen closely. This is where most people quit. They stop before the payoff. They give up when no one acknowledges their effort. But here's the truth. Growth never announces itself. Results never post themselves. They arrive silently. And when they do, the impact is undeniable. Every early morning you rose. Every habit you built. Every moment you resisted distraction, procrastination, and comfort. It all adds up. It compounds. It creates a version of you that can no longer be ignored. Most people never see this. They only see the outcome. They never understand the invisible hours behind it. You've been invisible for a reason. Not because you're weak, but because true strength doesn't need an audience. True power doesn't beg for recognition. It grows quietly, relentlessly, invisibly, until one day, the results speak louder than words ever could. Picture it. The project you started alone now stands completed. The skill you honed in solitude now sets you apart. The transformation you nurtured in silence is now unmistakable. Suddenly, people notice. They see your discipline, they see your focus, they see your momentum. They marvel at your success, and they have no idea the quiet battles you fought to get here. You remember the days of hesitation, the hours spent wondering if it was worth it, and now, the world sees only the peak, the mountain you climbed, not the countless steps you took in the dark. Others chase applause. You chase mastery. Others want to be seen. You want to be built. This is the beauty of the invisible journey. You've been building for yourself, not for recognition. For mastery, not approval. For transformation, not attention. Power built in silence doesn't need permission to exist. It doesn't rely on validation. It doesn't scream for attention. It simply arrives. Every small action, every morning you rose, every discipline you practiced, it wasn't wasted. It was the foundation of something monumental. Something so strong, so undeniable, that no one can ignore it. And here's the final truth. The world will eventually notice, not because you shouted, not because you posted or proclaimed it. Growth is impossible to overlook. So continue building quietly, continue showing up. Day after day, brick by brick, habit by habit. Resist the noise. Resist the urge to be seen before you're ready. Resist the distractions that steal your focus. Because one day, all that invisible work, all that quiet discipline, all that relentless momentum will arrive at the surface, and the world will finally see the masterpiece you've been creating silently, invisibly, powerfully. Power built in silence doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't wait for applause. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply speaks. And when it speaks, the world finally listens.